Alec Murdaugh's defense team is expected to rest its case by the end of the day today after calling more witnesses.
Yeah, the former attorney, currently disbarred, took the stand in his own defense last week. He is, of course, accused of killing his wife and son. This was back in June of 2021. CBS News national correspondent Nikki Battiste is outside the courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina, and she joins us now. Nikki, what's the latest from inside that building behind you?
So we had a bit of a surprise, a surprising moment this morning when the defense team asked the judge before the jury came in, can we take the jury to the crime scene, which was Murdaugh's family's hunting lodge. His wife and son were shot by some dog kennels, and the judge did grant that request. So at some point in the next day or two, the jury will be taken out to that property. So I think that was a surprise for everyone. Lily and Tony.
Wow. Nikki, can you talk to us a little bit about just the biggest takeaways from Alec Murdaugh since him taking the stand? I mean, I saw that he had a very emotional, I guess, performance or testimony that happened last week. Do you think that helped? Did it hurt the case? Of course, we're not in the minds of the jurors, but just from what you've been reporting on.
Well, I think what stood out was on day one, this is the day the defense is questioning Alec. He was very emotional. Some legal experts have told me that he did a great job, and typically it's incredibly risky for a defendant to take the stand, but he is a lawyer. He knows what he's doing. He, of course, said he did not kill his wife and son, which I think we expected. He also admitted to stealing millions of dollars from clients, which was also not a huge surprise. But I think the moment that the jury will really have to grapple with is that Alec Murdaugh admitted that he was right at the crime scene just before the murders happened. At the time, according to the time the prosecutor says, wife and son were killed. He had lied to investigators previously, he said, about whether or not he was at the dog kennels at all, saying he wasn't there that night. But now on the stand, he is admitting that he was. So I think that's a big question the jury will consider. And as you said, Lilia, we can't read the jurors' minds. And I think a lot of it just comes down to, do they believe him or do they not? Lilia and Tony?
Yeah. Funny thing happened over the weekend, Nikki. I turned on Netflix, and they're pushing out right there on the home screen a documentary about the trial that you are covering, a trial that, of course, not done. They haven't even begun jury deliberations. So I don't really know how that happens. I guess it's a lot of background information. But anyway, it could taint, I imagine, the view of the jurors if they were to catch any wind of this documentary. Is that a concern? Has that come up in court?
I think it's always a concern. These jurors are not sequestered, but Judge Newman every day reminds them not to discuss the case, not to read about the case, watch anything about the case. But these are human beings after all. And that particular Netflix series is one of the top 10 streaming on Netflix. So a lot of people are watching it. I think whether or not any of those jurors have the energy and time to watch it, we don't know, or if they have the interest. But it's a very good question. Tony and Lilia?
You know there are people in their lives who are like, come on, I want to talk about it so bad. People in my life want to talk about it. I'm not on the jury.
I definitely had...
Everyone wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I had the time and interest, and I'll tell you, that 3-part series does not help the defense.
Ooh, okay. Nikki Battiste, keep us posted. Thank you.